Hello everybody, in this lecture we learn another built-in function, filter function. Actually this function I really like it and it's really useful, and now we will make many examples about filter function and we will understand how filter function works. And simply we can say filter function filters out all the elements of a list and returns true, and it's really helpful function to filter elements we want from given iterable. Filter function is form how it's working. We need to say filter, and after between parentheses function, you can use lambda function or normal function with def keyword and comma iterable. Okay, let's now make an example and understand how it is working. I will create here a list and it's list 1, and let's say for example numbers 100, 5, 77 and 7, 6, 10, 12, 140, and other one, let's say something for example 9. Okay, now I want to find even numbers from this list. Okay, in this list, how can I do that? I will use filter function. Okay, and now I want to create here a variable even numbers. Okay, is equal to, first I will say list. Okay, and after that now I will use filter function. As you remember, I said filter function, how we can use it, this is form how we can use it, filter function. After that between parentheses our function and iterable. For the function I will use lambda. Okay, lambda x, and after that column, what I need to say, I will say x is %2, that means this is even numbers, right, is equal 0, that means my number is even, and after that I will say list 1 for my iterable name. Okay, now if I press shift and enter, sorry, now okay, and now I need to print out my even numbers. Right now even numbers, that's all. Now as you see, filter function filtered out for me from this list and the even numbers. Okay, and let's make another example. List 2 is equal to list, and I will say here range between -10 and let's say 50. Okay, here I want to filter out negative numbers, so I will say a negative num, okay, is equal to list, again filter, my function name here, my function. For the function I will use again lambda. Okay, lambda, I will say x column, if x less than 0, that means it is negative number, right? This is our code, and after that my iterable list 2. Now shift and enter, and I will print out, sorry, now I will print out my negative number list, negative num. Okay, as you see I filtered out negative numbers from this list. Okay, and also we finding intersection of two lists, we can do it with filter function. How it is working, for example, let's create here two lists. Okay, and list 1 is equal to, let's say 3, 2, 1, 11, 7 and 9. Okay, this one is list 1 and other one is list 2, right, is equal to, let's say 2, 3 and 5, 6 and 7 and 8. Okay, now how can I find intersection of two lists? To do that I will use again filter function. I will say print list and my filter function. Okay, for the filter function again I will use lambda x column, x in, this is something new we are learning, x in list 1 and list 2. Okay, this is how we can find intersection of 2 or 3 lists, doesn't matter, we can type here more lists. Okay, we need to use keyword in, okay, to do that. And now I will press shift and enter. As you see, it returns for me intersection of two this list, right? First one is 2, yes, second one is 3, and other one is 7. Okay, now let's make another example, and I will say here squares is equal to, we already learned how to use map function, right? So I will use map here, map lambda x column x times x, right? This is how we can find squares of given list, right? And here after that I will say range between range 15. Okay, and now I will filter something, and I will say list 3 is equal to list filter, and my function lambda x column if x greater than 10, and now I will use and x is less than 150, and after that my iterable name it's squares, right? What I said here, I already created a list here. Okay, its name is squares, and I used map function. We already learned map function, and I found squares of from 1 to 15, right? Here I said filter out for me the x values greater than 10 and less than 150. Okay, because our and the first one is it will start from 1, because square or power of 1 is 1 and 15 is 225, I think. Yes, it is. So I will filter out is greater than x which greater than 10 and less than 150. Okay, now if I press shift and enter, and now I need to print out my list 3, and let's see our result. As you see here, it is my items is less than 10 and greater than 10 and less than 150. Okay, and now other things, another example. This time we always use lambda function, right, for our form here, filter function name, our function iterable. This time I want to use a normal, actually not normal, lambda function is also normal, but I will create a function with def keyword. Okay, and I want to find the prime numbers with this function, and after that I will filter out my function from given range. Okay, for given range, sorry, I will say here I will create first my function def, and I will say name it prime. Okay, and x. So how I can find the prime numbers with the function? Firstly, I need to say here, as we know, 1 is not a prime number, so I will say here if x is equal 1, that means 1 is not prime number, and I will say print not a prime number. Okay, and for the I need to use elif here because I have 3 conditions. Elif x is equal to, this one is prime number, and I will say here print prime number. Okay, because 2 is prime number, and after that the last condition I will use else. Okay, here I will say else for I in range between 2 and x. Okay, given variable here x, and what I need to say here, I need to say here if x is x percent I is equal 0, that means this one is not a prime number, because as you know we cannot make division with by any number for prime numbers. So if that means this one is, if it is equal to 0, that means you can make division, and this is not a prime number. So I want to say here if something like that, sorry, here column, I will say return false. As you remember, here I said filter function filters out all the elements of a list and returns true, so I want to use here false and true values. Okay, and otherwise I will say here under that under for, and I will say if it is not return true. Okay, now shift and enter. Here I want to use my function, I will say prime, and let's give something. Let's say 11. 11 is a prime number. As you see, it's set true because 11 is a prime number, right? And let's now use, for example, let's use something else. 10 is not prime number, and as you see, it's set false. So our function is working perfectly. Now I will use filter function with this function, okay, and now I will filter out a given range, prime numbers between given range. Okay, so how can I do that? I will say here prime list is equal to list and the filter. Okay, here what is my function name? Prime, right? And after that, let's use range. Let's use between 3 and 1000. Okay, now I will say here print prime list, and now shift enter. As you see, I printed out all numbers, prime numbers between 3 and 1000 with filter function. Okay, 3, 5, 7 and 997. This is all of them is prime number. This is how we can use filter function. We learned many things about filter function. That's all. See you in the next.